this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. I'm going to have a go at repotting this Zygopetalum hybrid. This was bought in bloom and was in an unknown media. That's all been taken off. I've rinsed all the roots off under the tap to get the worst of the old media off. I'm not fussed if there's the odd little bit left. It's a good root system. What I want to do is try and keep it like that. Now this plant's actually, I noticed 2 new growths, but as I was taking the older sheaths off, there's a third one there. So the last new growth is now pushing out 2, and this one's coming out from one of the older bulbs, which looks like the previous growth that actually bloomed as well. So this seems to be quite a floriferous hybrid. So no ID, it was just bought for the colours of the blooms and the fragrance. And it's going in a mix of small seedling bark, some perlite and some broken up sphagnum moss. The sphagnum I use has got quite long strands in it, and I like to break it up because it distributes itself more evenly around the mix. And the reason I'm using this mix is because my other 2 zygos are still alive in it, whereas previous attempts aren't. Simple as that. It's not broke, don't fix it. I've got an air cone pot, that allows a little bit more circulation around the base of the plant and stops it getting soggy in the bottom basically. Now you have to bear in mind that is a very fine mix. If I put that in the bottom of the pot, I will clog all the holes up from the air cone, which defeats the purpose of having it. So it's got chunky bark in the bottom to allow the air flow and a little ventilation in through the base, get some air in there. It also stops the media in the bottom of the pot staying too wet, getting soggy and breaking down faster than the rest of the pot. So that's the reason I put that in there. A layer of the media, the roots are going to go in over the top. New growths as near to the middle of the pot as I can get. Which means sort of that way. Roots on zygos are brittle. They can break very easily. So I don't want to do any pressing and pushing and shoving. It's just a matter of teasing the media in a bit at a time, and a bit of a wiggle just to get it into the centre. Because otherwise it will be all around the edges and there'll be an air gap in the middle, which for some plants probably wouldn't matter, but I don't want air gaps on this one. I want this to find its way into all the little crevices. And the way to do that is don't put too much in all at once. If you put a huge wodge in, it can sort of cog up and stop it flowing down into the thing. Now I repot with dry media for this very reason. If this media was wet, it would be sticking to the side of the pot, sticking to the roots, and it would be much more difficult to get it to go down into the pot. When it's dry, it just falls down there. It saves putting too much effort in, because any effort equals pressure, and pressure can equal broken roots. So it's just a gentle thing. I can see through the side of the pot how well it's going down, and whether it needs a little bit of help or not, or whether it's just falling down on its own, which at the moment it is. I'm just going to wiggle a little bit into the centre there. When I rinsed this one off under the tap, it had the traditional sphagnum plug, but it was right back here against the oldest part of the plant. So obviously it was potted on without removing that plug, but it didn't do the normal damage it often does, simply because it obviously was pushing out some nice new growths away from that plug, and they got going into whatever it was potted in last time. So it didn't do the damage it's capable of doing. The worst time is literally when you've got a very confined small pot and a lot of that is the plug. And if it's been there too long and it starts to break down, then you end up rotting the plug and it'll take the root system down. And you know, if it's in a really small pot, that's highly likely to be most of the root system. So, you know, not too good. I'm just going to press down the sides a little bit to make sure the plant stands up. Very few roots at the edge of the pot, if you see, most of them are in the centre, so by pressing the sides down, it stabilises the pot. The plant, not the pot. I know what I mean. And this one is quite high in the pot, not high in the media. Having the roots showing at the top is not a big deal. And if I get a load of roots that look like they're going to go aerial, then I'll just put a bit of moss around the base of the plant to encourage them to go down into the pot. But the problem with having the media right up to the edge of the pot is when you water it, it all comes over the edge. So that's about as high as I'm going to go. I'm happy with that. That doesn't need staking, that's firm enough, and a good watering will settle that down. Yeah, and it'll help just move the media into any little gaps there might be. Although just looking round, I think I'm okay. So that's that one done. Zygopetalum hybrid, and from past experience they seem to do quite well in the small bark, broken up sphagnum and a bit of perlite. The other two are going great guns, so I'm hoping the same will happen now. The new roots came off of this growth. The new growths that are just starting, this one, and this tiny one here, they've yet to produce their new roots. So hopefully those will go straight down in the pot. Yeah, happy with that. So Zygopetalum hybrid repotted. Nice fresh media, can stay in there a while now.